So about 2 years ago, guys, I actually moved from New York all the way down to Puerto Rico. Super far away, okay? For the first time ever, I was not living with my mom, and that was kind of brand new and everything else, okay? Now, in that time, I actually bought a home at the age of 24, which was super early. I think the average home buyer, the first time home buyer is like 36 years old. I did it super early. And I actually sold that home just recently. In this video, I'm going to go into all the details, okay? And what I actually learned from this entire experience. So do me a favor and smash the like button. Now, when I actually moved to Puerto Rico, the idea was very simple. I wanted to save money on taxes. I wanted to have, for example, my own place to actually stay in a way. And, when I was there, I actually, had two family members. I joined the church. God had mercy. I became a Christian, which was actually awesome. The highlight of my life forever. But for the most part, I had this very simple plan. I thought that I would stay there for at least 5 years or a little longer to basically save and invest as much as I possibly could. And on top of that, I would spend 6 months in Puerto Rico and then 6 months in Dominican Republic, where I'm actually from, where my family actually is, and everything else. Now, at the time, this felt like a great idea, but I wasn't aware how hard that actually is to go somewhere that's actually brand new, where you don't know that many people whatsoever, and you're basically just by yourself. And then out of the year, every 6 months or so, you get to go to where your family actually is, enjoy that, but then you have to come right back to where you actually were before. It was kind of like, okay, like a reality check. And in reality, guys, when I think about it, I see that my big mistake was basically valuing trying to get there faster instead of trying to get there maybe a little slower or on time, but still being able to actually enjoy the whole journey overall. You'll learn more about this later in this video. But number two is, guys, I actually bought a home. And the reason I bought it was basically, well, the math said I could buy a home. I was like, okay, so I have the cash to buy a home. On top of that, also, I'm going to stay here for like at least 5 years. So if I rented, it would actually be more expensive. And, all these factors led me to believe that, hey, it makes sense to actually go ahead and buy a home. So I went ahead, I bought a home for 130K. I put way too much money into it. And just last week, I sold it for around 185,000. And guess what? I actually was supposed to lose even more money, but I luckily didn't lose as much as I should have lost in the first place. So it was not a transaction where I really came out on top whatsoever, because I made some big mistakes there. I thought I was being mature, but in reality, I was being immature in my thoughts. And here's why, okay? I was buying this home with a future idea, saying, well, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-bath, 2.5-bath house with 2 garages. It's a big home, big kitchen, big bathrooms. It was a nice house, okay? And I was like, well, I'm going to be here for at least 5 years. Within those 5 years, maybe I'll get married, I'll have a family, I can actually grow in this home, which is actually pretty cool. But at the time, I was just basically a single guy, a bachelor, and that's still what I am right now, right? A bachelor. And in reality, well, a bachelor, but I'm not available. But I had the whole idea of like, hey, the best thing I probably could have done was basically, because this is my reality right now, I'm single, I don't have like a big family to take care of. Well, I could have just kept renting, which would have been the smartest idea, or I could have bought, for example, maybe an apartment, a studio, or a 1-bedroom where I'm actually able to work and sleep. And then when the time actually came to actually, grow a family, then I would actually take that action. But sometimes we presuppose that just because something is in our plans, we need to take the right action right now, but sometimes you just kind of go in too early, and that's not the best idea whatsoever. So I sold that home today because here's what actually happened, okay? Throughout this whole journey, something actually went wrong and something's actually went right. And the first thing is, what went right was basically my whole plan of 6 months here and 6 months there, okay? So I spent 6 months in Puerto Rico. Well, I spent a whole year in Puerto Rico, a whole year, without coming back to Dominican Republic whatsoever, okay? And then when I got the chance to spend like 2-3 weeks here, I was like, okay, I have to start this whole 6 months part. And when I actually did that, I was like, I'm here for 3-4 months. I do not want to go back. Here I have a great church. I have my family's right next to me. My friends are right here. It's kind of like my people, it's my culture. It's so much more different. You feel at home, which is actually pretty normal and actually like what's supposed to be like, right? So I was like, there's no way I can go from this to going back just for the sense of saving more money and being able to get there a lot faster. Now, even when I knew that, I wasn't going to take the decision. I really wasn't going to make the decision. But one main thing that changed my life was I had a life and death situation happen to me while I was actually here. And it kind of just made me see that I can have this plan of 5 years of spending 6 months here, 6 months there. But what happens if something goes wrong within those 5 years? And I actually don't actually get to do any of those things, okay? And all this money that I try to basically amass and to save up kind of just goes on the drain because I can't really enjoy it whatsoever anyways, okay? So it kind of just changed my whole perspective and kind of told me, yeah, going to Puerto Rico was awesome because, you know, God in his providence kind of used that moment and that whole experience to actually have mercy on me and save me, which is awesome. You know, buying a home and having that experience to know exactly what it's like to remodel an entire home, to live in a home, to have that whole perspective was kind of cool, whatever. But I probably just sort of rented or bought something a lot smaller. And then just living here next to family and having more enjoyment is actually pretty cool. So for the moment, this is where I'm staying in Dominican Republic, and it's actually a pretty good decision. Now, if you ask me, Tommy, are you going to stay here forever? The answer is I don't know. But right now, it's the best decision possible. And a few years later, a few years earlier, right, being in Puerto Rico was the best decision then too. So, you know, in life, you kind of find out that sometimes decisions aren't right or wrong. They aren't as black and white. You know, to say that, well, you should have never bought that home because you sold it, but at that moment, I didn't know that was going to happen, and no one can predict. You know, hindsight is 2020. That's what they say, and it's kind of true, right? When you're looking back, you can say, well, don't do that, but when you're in that moment, you make the best possible decisions. So going forward, what things am I actually going to be doing to make sure I don't make those same mistakes? I'm going to make value-based decisions when it comes to my lifestyle and not just, for example, monetary-based decisions. Like going somewhere just for taxes, not a good idea. And Ramit Sethi, the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, told me that. You know, in his book, he said, I would not just switch New York to save money. And at the time, I did not understand that, but I do today. And on top of that, I will not be buying a home until I actually need a home. And you might say, Tommy, what do you mean by that? Well, the answer is I'm fine with just renting. And when I need a home, when I'm married, if God wills, if I have my kids, if God allows it to, right, then I'm actually able to say, hey, probably need a home, let's go ahead and buy a home. But buying a home for the sake of saying, in the future, I'll probably need a home, probably not the best idea, right? So I'm kind of going like day by day and making the best decisions possible for the future, but not making extreme ones at the moment because they kind of lock you down. Buying a home it makes you very inflexible because now you have a home you got to take care of, right? So it's those are massive factors. So overall, guys, I learned a lot from this experience. It was actually pretty cool. I made some good friends in Puerto Rico, relationships that I probably will never forget about, and it's actually pretty awesome and amazing. For the most part, it was a solid experience. Did I learn a lot from it? Yes. Was it costly? Yes. Will I do it again? No. But that's what usually happens when you're a lot younger. You get to make mistakes and you get to recover a lot faster because you're younger, okay? And even if it takes longer, you're still able to recover because you're younger. You have a lot longer to actually recover from those mistakes. So yeah, that's a big part of it. So if you want to take a big chance and go somewhere and experience something brand new, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but I am going to tell you that if you do it, don't try to do things when you're there to actually ground you like crazy, like buying a home and all those other things, right? When you're not sure if you're actually going to be there, you know, for more than 5 years or so. And even if you think you're going to be there for 5 years, make sure you really believe that because it's just better to rent for like 2, 3, 4 years and then decide, right? So the math that I kind of got was saying that, hey, in 5 years, it'll be more expensive to actually keep renting than it is to keep buying, right? Just buy a property today. So I probably should have gone to like year 4, just renting, and then at year 5 bought the property, right? If I still wanted it. And that would have gave me a good amount of time there to figure out if I actually wanted to stay there or not. And obviously, I would have discovered that that's not what I actually wanted, and I wouldn't have gotten through that entire transaction and that whole mess in a way. But thankfully, guys, there is a highlight here, and there is a nugget that the people that actually bought that home, that I spoke to them, that actually love it. I hope they enjoy it. And sometimes, there's a saying in Spanish culture that sometimes you're working, but you don't know who you're actually working for. So you kind of, I ended up working on that home and making it nice, but I didn't know who I was actually doing that for. I thought it was for me and like my future family, but it was actually for that family right there. I think it's like a husband and a wife and like 2 kids, and that's pretty cool. And I hope they actually get to have the maximum enjoyment possible from that property. Guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. I know this video is not as much about the transaction because there are no crazy details about it. You buy at a price, there's cost of selling, you sell the property, you keep the money, or you pay the mortgage, you do what you want to do. But the whole experience is the highlight, not just the transaction. And that's why I didn't just focus on the transaction. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. Comment down below any questions, I'll answer them. Sheesh, you guys have seen a lot, right? You guys seen me in New York. You've seen me in my first apartment, my second apartment, then you've seen me in my first home, and now you see me in my third apartment here in Dominican Republic. Wow, you guys have seen a lot. So yeah, 100% staying here in Dominican Republic. Up here's another video. Over here's my face. Long-term team officially out.